United States has 11 major Navy yards and dry docks. Their function, to build, repair, and maintain ships of the largest Navy in the world. Since June 1940, Navy and private shipyards have added to our fleet more than 70 carriers, 9 battleships, a score of cruisers, more than 500 destroyers and destroyer escorts, an undisclosed number of submarines, and tens of thousands of landing craft and auxiliary vessels. This production continues, but of first importance today is the task of keeping our ships in fighting trim. 4 yards on the west coast bear the brunt of Pacific damage and overhaul. Mare Island and its annex at Hunters Point on San Francisco Bay, Puget Sound in Washington, and Terminal Island dry docks near Los Angeles. The growth of every U.S. yard has been so great that although 340,000 civilians are enlisted in the home front battle of maintenance and repair, some 35,000 more are needed, especially in the vastly expanded yards of the Pacific coast. Typical of West Coast Navy Yard activity is Mare Island, where approximately 35,000 workers are employed. Yet Mare Island alone wants 8,000 more, with electricians, machinists, and craftsmen at the top of the list. Women workers, too, are needed, but women with industrial experience. For almost 25% of Mare Island's work is handled by women. Here are prefabricated parts for landing craft produced in Denver, Colorado, 1,000 miles from the sea, for assembly at Mare Island. This work, together with other new construction, helps keep employment steady, occupying the labor of all those not immediately demanded for emergency repairs. The ferry boats are crowded with workers newly arrived from every state in the Union. In many cases, their fare across the country is paid by the Navy in return for the promise of at least 6 months' work. Transportation, a bugaboo to workers, is provided at Mare Island by one of the largest fleets of buses in the country, traveling over 29,000 miles a day from home to work and back. The Navy realizes that transportation and housing are important in attracting labor. Through the United States Employment Service and the Civil Service Commission come many Navy Yard workers, like John Moran from the East, to take up residence in government-built and furnished homes that average less than $35 a month. Modern nurseries assume the responsibilities of caring for many thousands of children whose parents are at work. 42,000 low-cost meals a day are served in the Mare Island cafeterias. But war is not all production. It's fighting, too. It's taking hits and giving more. This is a story of one ship that was hit and how it was refitted and ready for action again in 26 days. It's the story of a destroyer, number 690, the Norman Scott, named for Rear Admiral Norman Scott, killed in action in 1942. She had already won her ribbons in the battles of the Gilberts and the Marshalls before she went to her post in support of the 2nd Marine Division at Tinian. Reports said the Jap shore batteries had been silenced. Maybe they had. But if so, the Japs had them working again. A mile offshore, the Scott took 3 salvos broadside. She got the Jap batteries before she was through, and Tinian was taken. But 690 was badly in need of repair. Along with other ships, she heads for home. Some will go to Puget Sound or Hunters Point. The Scott will head for Mare Island. Commandant's office at Mare Island, Rear Admiral Tisdale and Industrial Manager Captain Klein study the damage report and go over the estimates of the time and manpower needed for the job. They have only 26 days to do it. They call it availability time. Radio towers that first receive the news of Pearl Harbor relay the damage reports to Washington, to the Bureau of Ships, where Rear Admiral Mills and Broshek receive the dispatches and consult with Captain Haynes, Navy Yard Specialist in the Maintenance Division. From vaults containing more than 1 million blueprints detailing every ship's construction, the plans of number 690 are drawn. And while the Scott is still far at sea, the job of repair begins. Repair number 1 stack. Replace number 2 torpedo tubes. Repair aft gun and shield, and 1,000 other things. There comes the Fighting Scott down San Francisco Bay to home. Men of Mare Island are already aboard to photograph and check the damage, rehearse the plans for her repair. Number 1 stack alone will take a lot of fixing. But now it's time for work. The first of 26 days. 26 days and nights allowed to accomplish the impossible. Before the ship's crew is off, the yard crew is aboard and going at it. The first Liberty party goes ashore. 22 of their shipmates never will, those who were killed at Tinian. Below decks in the wardroom, ship's officers and specialists from the yard plan each day of the 26 allotted, tackle the most urgent damage first. Topside, the decks are being cleared. A gaping hole in the after gun shield is a grim reminder of death. 6 men were killed in there. A large shell exploded in the stack. Decks were left a twisted mass of plates and beams and tubing, and innumerable pieces of sensitive radio and communications equipment, direction finders and gyros, though not directly hit, were damaged by the concussion of the blasts. All to be repaired, replaced, renewed in 26 days. Among the first things to be cleared away are the torpedo tubes. The warheads, alive with thousands of pounds of TNT, are still in place. If the shell that tore this hole had carried a few feet further, the whole ship might have been torn in two. The Scott came back without her captain. Seymour Owens had asked for her command because he'd known Admiral Scott, for whom the ship was named. Now they're cutting away the part of the bridge on which this brave captain died off Tinian. Thousands of feet of wiring and control cables were cut by fragments from each of the exploding shells. 189 miles of wire was ripped out, renewed, rethreaded, and replaced. Not all Navy Yard workmen are new to the job. Many make a highly successful career of it. One shell fragment piercing the deck penetrated 2 bulkheads to embed itself in the radio set. Work like this demands the skill of hundreds of trained electricians, for these channels are the nerve system, the eyes and ears of the ship. It takes several days just to strip a destroyer of this class. There goes the after gun shield. Its plates are only thick and hard enough to withstand flying shrapnel. They could never hope to stop a direct hit. The 50-ton cranes that travel along the piers pick off the heavy gun with lumbering ease, then back to pick up the giant searchlight, and then the damaged stack. There are only about 15 days to go now. 15 days before the Fighting Scott is due back in the line. In the ordnance shop, they're finishing up the number 2 torpedo tubes. Navy yards can seldom use assembly line techniques, for most parts are custom-made, cast, cut, machined according to individual plan, placing a premium on experienced, skilled workmen. Many ships and types of ships will pass through Mare Island within a month, but our eyes now are on the Scott and her equipment nearing its completion. But the Scott is slipping behind schedule. There aren't enough men to do everything. They have to be taken off vital work. Other jobs must be delayed to get 690 out on time. And through the night they work. Why the rush? It's not alone that this DD is wanted back. There are newer destroyers coming off the ways of other yards. But the scarred 690 and her crew know the ropes. And as every worker knows, a reconditioned fighting ship is more immediately effective in the line than the latest, newest sister ship. For new ships, new crews are green. And the Scott is battle-hardened. Superstructure, the Scott is towed to dry dock and cradled beside another ship that's also just arrived for hull repairs and underwater overhaul. Here they scrape and clean and paint below the waterline, as now the damaged parts renewed are reassembling on the deck. Now begins the longer, harder job of reassembling the repaired parts of the ship. First the stack, and then the platform that mounts the huge 3-foot searchlights. The light itself with 300 million beam candle power ready for action once again. Six days to go, and here come the torpedo tubes with perhaps improvements in design and operation. For in the 26 allotted days, not only is every repair job undertaken, but every possible new development is incorporated in the job. When the Scott goes back to sea, she'll not only be as good as ever, she'll be better. Ship and yard officers check the progress, as now, with but a few days left, the Scott puts on her war paint and prepares to take the salt spray in her face once more. With only hours left and the ship fitter still aboard, the crew begins to load supplies. Armfuls of destruction go aboard as the boys nurse shells and powder cases destined for slant-eyed targets overseas. Leaves are up. It's time to go to sea. The Norman Scott has got the itch for battle, and her sister ships are waiting for her in the lines that are now forming for the next big push. No whistles blow, no champagne bottles splash when the Scott goes back to war. But John Moran can swell with pride. That's his ship going to sea again. That's his punch going to meet the Japs. Take a look, John, but make it quick, for they need you on another ship tomorrow, you and thousands more. This is a victory never to be headlined, the triumphant end of a tense, brilliant 26-day battle won by the narrowest margin. This is the machinist and the welder, shoulder to shoulder with the turret gunner and the torpedo man. This is the rendezvous of what it takes with the valor to make it count. This is America.